Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Sean Lang. I've spent the last several years building and operating a digital agency that's grown past 75 people. That's definitely shaped how I think about the decisions that really matter when things get complex. Now, real quick, just a reminder, we've got a free community with tons of helpful agency resources, templates, AI tools, stuff that I've created for myself that I know would probably help you in your journey. You can access all of that over at agencyuplift.co/group. Would love it if you engaged, but even if not, go get the free stuff, use it. It's super helpful. Onward to the show. Today, I'm joined by MJ Dewji, co-founder of Oction Agency. Oction builds 24/7 digital workforces that run and scale businesses. MJ, it's great to have you on, man.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Pleasure of mine to be on. Been following you
Absolutely.
for a little bit, so pretty
Sweet.
excited.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, let's get started. Why don't you tell us a bit more about Oction?
Yeah, Auction essentially is an agency where we leverage the technology of agentic AI to help build workforces for smaller businesses up to enterprise clients as well. Whether it's taking over an entire company or taking over a certain category of a business or department, we can do anything that can be done essentially on a computer. So the technology is powerful, and we've implemented for ourselves in our agency, and now we've been helping other businesses do that for themselves.
That's really, really cool. And I know that a lot of people are super interested in that. So we will dive more into that. I'd love to hear your origin story because you didn't start out doing this work. You started out with more of a traditional agency, or traditional in the sense of like digital. So why don't you tell us about the origin story of the digital agency, and let's kind of walk into that.
Yeah, actually, I'll take you even further back a little bit. I actually started off in accounting. So
Nice.
I was in school. I had a co-op, and I was like, yeah, accounting's gonna be my thing. I don't mind it. The advice I got was, hey, not everyone loves what they do, but if it can pay for what you love to do, then it's not a bad career. So doing accounting, absolutely miserable, sitting in a cubicle. And I kind of realized it wasn't for me. So I went on a little exploratory stage. And I started a drop shipping company. I learned everything I needed to learn on YouTube, etc. And that was my initial introduction to ads. Switched my degree at that point and kind of went all in. Gary Vee's advice was great for that. And essentially from that kind of sprung onto, hey, I really enjoy doing ads. It's dopamine hit every time you get a sale or you get a lead. Um, this is something that I enjoy and I think I can see myself doing. So as I've progressed along, I worked for a bunch of companies. I graduated and I started working at a digital marketing agency, a local digital marketing agency here in Vancouver, and really got a feel for how an agency runs and the types of clients and what we're doing for clients, etc. And kind of using my creative brain to come up with solutions to problems using digital marketing. And I thought that was a lot of fun and very interesting. So much so that I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna start my own agency. I can do this, in my opinion, better, and I can help a lot of people, especially smaller to medium-sized businesses. So I took the plunge. I ended up starting my own agency, ABC Digital Marketing at the time, and that was running for about almost 6 years. Um, and a lot of challenges along the way. Definitely at the start, I got my initial clients and then I was coasting for a while. And then I realized I really got to network and put myself out there a little bit more, join some networking groups, etc. Um, but um, it was quite a blessing for me to take that journey because it prepped me for where I am right now, which is, I partnered up with a few co-founders and we launched um, Oction or Auction Agency, however you want to call it. We made up the word, so it's however you want to go about it. But eight being the lucky number in Chinese culture, and action, is what we're taking. So, it actually Oction started off as still a digital marketing agency. And essentially what had happened was, as digital marketing agencies go, and a lot of founders would understand this, you get really busy. You don't have time. You're dealing with your employees, you're dealing with clients, you're dealing with all the other stuff that comes with business development, admin, all of that fun stuff. So At some point, we were looking for personal assistants, and we had hired no luck with a good personal assistant, and at that point, we'd learned about agentic AI. It's probably a month and a half into the technology even coming out, and we're like, hey, let's give this a shot. Let's set up personal assistants for all of us, and like, wow, that works really well. I used an old computer of mine and set up an agent, and I was like, this is fantastic. What else could we replace? And slowly, piece by piece, we started replacing parts of the agency till we replaced the entire agency, essentially. Um, Everything that, again, can be done on a computer was able to be done. Um, Human guidance here and there, but we took care of that. So that was uh, that was a huge eye opener for me, and it kind of transitioned us into starting to build these workforces for other companies because we were able to do it for ourselves. Um, and that was pivot, which was now I want to say 3 to 4 months ago.
Hmm.
So it's been a pretty exciting journey, and um, not the shift I expected. I definitely thought the digital marketing agency was something that I'd be focusing on long term, um, but a welcome shift for sure.
Yeah, it's really interesting because there are so many people right now who are trying to offer, AI and agentic AI as a service to anyone and everyone who they can offer it to, but they don't necessarily have the actual subject matter expertise behind it. Like how, and I still want to get into the agency experience, but I think this piece is really interesting. How did your 6 years worth of running a digital agency factor into the kinds of decisions that you've been making and like the service that you offer now? Because I'm sure I would assume it's made a huge impact.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're not wrong because it's such a new technology. Really, who is the expert? And it comes back to your experience prior to you starting this, right? For us, it was systems. Systems are like extremely key and important. Client communication, client relationships, that stuff never changes. And it's very transferable, right? Sales, that's all part and parcel of kind of that experience that built up uh, ourselves to that point where, hey, this works. I definitely think, keeping that client experience in mind and ensuring that the systems are the right thing, right? With a digital marketing agency, yeah, you can run it without systems, but you're not going to get very far, right? So um, having that background of building those systems within a digital marketing agency, one, it helps like when you have systems and you bring on an agentic AI, like it's already set. You don't have to like think too much about it, right? You don't have to create something new. Versus if you have no systems, I mean, that's what you need first before bringing on the agentic AI. Otherwise, your AI agents will have no idea what to do, have no structure, and it's a waste of resources essentially. So I think that was the main thing, that biggest takeaway from our 6 years that you know was invaluable for us.
How often, when talking to prospects, do you find that they just don't have the systems maturity needed in order to benefit properly from agentic AI?
All the time. Especially with the smaller clients, it's they're looking for quick fixes, or they're looking for that one solution to fix all of the problems that they have. And honestly, this also comes from digital marketing too. When we're talking to prospects for our agency, um, sometimes they just don't have the systems to deal with the leads, or they don't have the systems to follow up, etc. Right? And yeah, the agents can help with that, obviously, but um, it's uh, it matters in that sense. So we're already used to that conversation for sure. And I mean, if it's not the right fit, it's not the right fit for us. Um, we want to make sure you're just as ready. Otherwise, like all our efforts would go to waste at the end of the day, right? And yes, we can help with systems for sure, but it's definitely not our main business, right? So
Totally.
um, yeah. uh, And I think kind of coming back to your point previously, I think the experience of working in different industries and working with different industries has helped us like understand the different problems each industry faces, or each type of company faces. And that again helped inform, hey, what type of solution we can provide them when it came to the agentic AI. And some of it was marketing, but a lot of it was other, right?
Hmm.
systems being one of those.
So you mentioned something earlier, and this is something that I've actually heard from so many founders of digital agencies, and it's this this common story, this common pattern of I was working at an agency and I just thought that I could do it better. And
Yeah.
so without throwing shade at the agency that employed you before, because I don't know that that's your goal, but so
No.
agencies are hard, so no shame, no judgment here. But um, what were the things that kind of led you to feeling that?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be very frank with you. I really enjoyed my experience at that agency. So just disclaimer, like they did run things pretty good. They had a good structure, great team, great culture. Um, I just felt that when it came to client delivery and the results we were able to get for clients, there was a lot of, patchwork slash just get it done and get it shipped. Um, and without, uh, I don't want to say no care. There is definitely care, but I felt like a little bit more attention to detail was important. Um, Client communication was also very, very important. That I realized could be significantly improved. Um, and and then with the solutions out there in the digital marketing world, I felt that what we were doing was relatively basic. Um, you know, something I could have done right after university. This agency was doing for these clients, and I was one to be someone who did a lot of my own research, YouTube late at nights instead of watching shows or whatever. I'd be on a rabbit hole for learning new digital marketing trends and techniques and ways I can improve my skills, right? And so I saw a huge gap in terms of what we were doing versus what we could potentially do. And that's kind of what led me to, hey, like I think I can do this better. And then at the same time, I mean, I've always been somewhat of an entrepreneur, whether it's in high school, selling candy out of the locker or whatever the case is. I always wanted to be my own boss. So that was definitely a driving factor as well.
Man, I've heard the story of selling candy at the locker more than a few times. That's awesome. That
Yeah.
definitely wasn't me. I found I got bit by the entrepreneurial bug later on in life, but that's awesome. So what were the early years like at the agency?
Honestly, at first, the first year and a half was very chill. I didn't really expand too much. I was very comfortable with what I was making, the clients that I had. Um, it was just me as one employee, and it was really chill. I'll be very frank with you. And that was a little bit of my downfall at the time was, hey, I didn't take it as seriously as I should have.
Hmm.
Initially, I was able to replace my income, make a little bit more, and I was satisfied at the time. And then I lost a client, and that really hit me and like kicked me in the butt, which was a blessing in disguise. Where it pushed me to, hey, like one, I need to put myself out there more, and two, I really need to think about what my actual goals are in life, in business, etc. Um, and turns out I had big aspirations. So from that point on, I put in a lot of work, invested a lot of time and money and um, resources into growing the agency further, um, and making it something sustainable, making it something long lasting. Ironically, now that I'm saying that we've switched over, but that was the goal and that was the plan initially. But it did come with a lot of struggles, a lot of sleepless nights, obviously, a lot of time away from friends, family. Me huddled up in my home office, just on like probably like 20 hours a day, take breaks to eat, etc. So um, and maybe get a nap in here and there. So it wasn't the healthiest lifestyle either, but it was something that kind of shaped the work ethic that I have today as well. So um, I'm grateful for that time.
Yeah, I can remember the early days of my agency being somewhat similar for sure. Just like it's the first thing you think of when you open your eyes, and it's the last thing you think of when you close your eyes before you go to bed. It's
I'm
just you're
probably
always
dreaming about it too. So
yeah, 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 exactly. You never really get a break. You're just there
no,
no matter what, right?
no, not at all.
Um, what was like a highlight struggle, or maybe a moment where you found yourself thinking like maybe this agency thing isn't like all it cracked up to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think losing that client, it was a client and maybe like one other smaller client at the time. And because I hadn't put any work in at the time, I really struggled to make up that income. And I went through a really tough period financially, which obviously puts a strain on life, puts a strain on relationships, puts a strain on whatever I'm doing, right? I had to make decisions whether to go. I play a lot of sports, so like going for tournaments, etc. Maybe not going for those tournaments, which was hard for me because it's a very big passion of mine. Um, kind of making those tough decisions, I think was something that, I look back and I'm like, obviously I wish I did that differently, or I wish I did this a little bit better, just because it would have improved my life at the time. And I think part of that whole struggle was that I didn't have my system set up for a long time. And so I was constantly just working my butt off and not seeing results or not seeing like growth or anything like that. I felt like my capacity was full, and I had to bring someone on. But then obviously there's a cost to that, and suddenly I'm in the hole again, and like client relationships dropped off a little bit because I couldn't spend enough time, and it was kind of a cycle where before I had systems in place, before I had those um, got those clients, got recovered clients and got new clients. It was a tough time for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a it's a trial by fire. It's a major personal growth journey, which I think that no one really realizes when they first get
Yeah.
into starting a business is like, yeah, you're
I
going to be
will
growing the
say,
business, but you're going to be growing yourself a lot more.
exactly. I will say though, at no point did I think about like, hey, I'm not gonna do an agency. If anything, I'll get a job on the side and continue the agency. It was I'm a very stubborn individual. I was like, I'm gonna make this work one way or the other. So um, it was never something that crossed my mind that hey, this is not gonna work out. I always believed in myself and backed myself anywhere, anything I do.
Yeah, it's really funny because I was actually talking to another founder a couple hours ago, and he was saying, yeah, once we started, like it was difficult, but it was kind of like that mentality of if this business goes under, I'm just going to start another one right afterwards. So like it is what it is. We're just going to keep going. Like stopping isn't really even an option that I care to entertain whatsoever. And I think that again, that's how I'm wired as well. But not everyone is wired that way. A lot of people are like, it didn't work out. Guess back to the old grind. No, it's not. That's not going to happen.
No, for sure, for sure.
Ha-
I have gotten advice though that like, hey, maybe this isn't the right idea. This is not the right thing to do, etc. Especially when it's tough times. But and maybe I was a little crazy for ignoring them at the time. But I mean, I feel
Doesn't
like
sound like it.
entrepreneurs are a little bit crazy.
Sounds like you were correct. Sounds like you were right.
There you go.
How has your role as a founder changed from when you first put on the founder hat to now?
That's a good question. I think at the time it was everything. I was just doing everything myself. Um, and being a solo founder versus a co-founder is very, very different. Um, right now there's a lot of moving parts that we deal with, a lot of different personalities you have to deal with or work with and learn to work with. It comes with the advantages as well as disadvantages too. You have to think a little bit more, and you kind of have to establish set roles for each co-founder.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it can get messy and it can get confusing.
It's so critical. And as someone
And
who's gone through that as well, and as someone who also
yeah,
coaches founders with partners, nobody wants to do it. It's uncomfortable
no,
because you become friends and you're like, I don't want to disrupt
exactly.
the friendship. But the thing is, you're always balancing two relationships. You're balancing the personal relationship and the business relationship, and one of them is always being negatively affected. You kind of need to know which one it is, and if you
Hmm.
don't clarify things, then you're never going to know, and you're never going to say the things you need to say and do the things you need to do, and things are going to stay kind of like muddy. At least that's been my experience.
We went through that a little bit, I will say. But it's a learning experience, like you said, right? It really taught me like, okay, here are the strengths, here are the weaknesses, and hey, sometimes even if it's a weakness, you gotta take it up because it's a weakness maybe for all the founders. And someone's got to step up. Someone's got to do the dirty work. And But everyone brings some sort of value to the table, right? And But on the flip side, there's advantages like, hey, if I'm sick, like I know I got my co-founders backing me up and covering me if necessary. Um, so I'm not as stressed when it comes to that side of things. But um, yeah, there's a little bit of pressure too on the financial side. Hey, like we have to deliver because there's other people involved,
Hmm.
their families, their significant others, etc., involved, etc. So it's a little bit more. But I thrive under pressure, so I kind of like it. And yeah, there's if I had co-founders at the beginning of my agency, um, maybe I wouldn't have Slack. There's that accountability, right? Aspect of it too. Like you're accountable to like your other co-founders, right? Um, so I prefer this method as long as you find the right people and the right mix. I've seen so many terrible stories too.
Oh yeah, no
And
shortage.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all about the right fit. It's like hiring an employee too. It's like the right fit is so important. Or like marrying the right person, right? It's essentially like that. It's one of the most important decisions you'll make in your business. And um, so yeah, it's a make it or break it type of thing.
Complete. No, it's true. It can't be can't be overstated rather. Um, so what learnings did you bring over from the agency over to and I realize now I was saying it wrong, Oction.
Whichever works. Um, yeah, I think I mentioned this earlier, but systems for sure. Um, Learning to work with the co-founders, having a big vision, I think is really important. I think people sometimes get stuck in the small vision of things, the quick money, and having a bigger vision is so important.
Hmm.
Especially with this technology, there's so much that you can do. You can get bogged down in like, hey, I just do like websites, for example. I can generate you websites really quickly, etc. So, um, but that's like 1% of what the capability of agentic AI has. So um, I think there's a lot of that. I mean, I know I can't stress on systems more. Like it is whether you do agentic whatever business you run, even in an agency, I think it's so valuable. Um, and then, I mean, how to talk to people, how to frame, we do marketing for other businesses, how to frame your own business, how to frame this new business that we created, right? So that it's appealing, it's got the right verbiage, um, you're able to get your point across. And sometimes, honestly, it's a constant work in progress too. Um, but I feel like we've done a pretty good job. Our calendars are usually filled with demos and um, calls with prospects, etc. So I think we've done a decent job, and that's all organic. We haven't run any ads or anything like that. So
That's
um,
awesome.
yeah,
As a former digital agency guy yourself,
yeah.
what should our audience, which is only agency owners, like where
Hmm.
should they be starting with agentic AI? Because I guarantee literally every single person who's listening to this right now is either, has tried something that works,
Yeah.
but realistically probably only half works, or they're muddling through something, or they started and realized this is not going to work and they've stopped. But I think that a lot of people don't really know where to start and they kind of half-ass it. So where should they start? Bang for buck, something that's actually effective that will free up some time so that they can be better agency leaders.
I think you have to look at like what takes most time but has the least amount of value, right? And usually it's things like emails and communication, mm, that sort of stuff, right? Like a really cool feature of our personal agents is that it does research every day, every night, and gives me a report. By the time I wake up, I have what's latest in the news, what's latest in the industries that I want to serve. Um, Also what's latest with my sports teams. But um, and that alone saves me a whole bunch of time in research and going through those YouTube videos because the agents are going through those YouTube videos for me. Um, or any of those things, right? So that's one small thing. Like obviously there's other tools out there, but then again, communication, making sure that I stay on top of things. So to go to your question, where to start? I think like the personal agent side, how we started was really valuable. The technology is evolving, so like you already have your if you don't want to spend sleepless nights and building out, taking a computer, building out a full-on agent, and you just want to get comfortable with using somewhat of an agentic AI tool, Claude Cowork is a great start um, to get your feet wet. And it's low barrier. You start using it, and you'll see an immediate impact in terms of even if it's an hour or two saved per week. Um, you know, you can spend that hour or two with your kids or with your doing working out. That's I know that's a thing with owners. Like they get so busy they don't have time to exercise. So
You don't
like
see too many jacked agency owners, that's for sure.
no, not too many, not too many. We'll get there though. We'll get there.
Working on it.
Yeah, exactly. But essentially, yeah. So I think that's the place to start, especially on the simpler side. Once you get a little bit more in depth, yeah, you go look at OpenClaw, you look at all these other tools out there, and you start building. It does get a little scary when it comes to security and the potential of being hacked, etc. So you have to be very, very careful.
That's probably
Um,
why you would engage with somebody like yourself and
correct,
Oction.
correct, yeah. So we take that all into consideration. Data is so important with our clients, with ourselves. Um, being compliant, etc. Uh, very, very key. But again, I think you want to understand what it is you're going to be getting involved with before you get involved with it. So again, that's where I think you start with Cloud Forward, and go from there, right? There's a ton of like some people I got asked like, hey, I'm looking at these agentic AI courses that like are out there, etc. I like firstly the technology just came out and they've already made a course, which is great, fantastic, but all the information's on YouTube. There's some great channels out there that I would love to shout them out, but I totally am blanking on it. But even if you just search, things you can do with Quad Cowork, etc., you will learn so much in just a couple of hours, right? Instead of watching that Netflix show or while you're eating or something, that alone, you do that for a week and you start implementing the next week, you'll see a huge value add. Um, and then if you can do it for yourself, your employees can do it. You can empower them to get more done.
Hmm.
Right. It's not necessarily about replacing your employees. Well, we kind of did that in our agency, but it's not necessarily about that, right? Why not superpower your employees? And now you can bring on more clients, or you can do more for your clients, and can provide more value. And I think that's where the satisfaction comes from, is being able to do that. And um, at the end of the day, client satisfaction leads to more clients and more business coming your way too, right? So it's great all around.
Treat the client well, and the profits will follow. As long as you know your numbers. It's the caveat to that piece that everybody
Yep.
forgets. Well, hey man,
That's us.
this has been a
Yeah.
fantastic conversation. I think that we could riff on agency life and AI for hours. But if someone is
For sure.
interested in learning more about what Oction Agency can do for an agency owner, where could they find you?
Yeah. So LinkedIn is probably the best place at MJ Dewji. You could also search our website. We actually have two websites. It's a little bit weird, but octionlab.com and octionagency.com. So you can check out what we're doing. Oction Agency includes our agency side of things. Oction Lab is kind of our enterprise level side of things. So if you're curious about that, but for the agencies, octionagency.com is the place to go. And yeah, that's basically it.
Awesome, man. Thanks for coming on.
Sweet. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.